Okay folks, so we're back, part 3, and we're going to share some lessons learned. But before we get into that, let's address the elephant in the room. So I must apologize for leaving you on a cliffhanger after the last episode of the PC Build mini-series. I kind of figured if TV series like Lost can do it, then why can't DevOps Rob? Now right off the bat, did the PC Build work out for me? Right? And I answer, not exactly. So it turns out that for a GPU to post signal, it needs power. Who would have thought, right? So, I was starting up this PC and it wasn't posting any signal to the monitor, and I was there thinking, what the hell is going on? And, all I had to do was just plug in some extra PCIe cables and voila, it worked, right? So before I get into what happened next, this is where I'm going to start to share my lessons learned in this journey, right? So the first lesson that I learned is do a lot more planning if you're a first-time builder. So anyone out there who's watching this video that is thinking about building their own PC and has never done it before, you've got to do a lot more planning than I did. Now I mentioned in the video that I do a lot of reading and I watch a lot of videos, and that's kind of how I learn. And it's true, I did do some of that for this. However, what I failed to do was download the motherboard layout and download the manual for that and study that in advance. Had I done that, my life would have been so much easier. Because when it came to plugging in cables, I couldn't figure out what was supposed to go where in some cases, right? The second thing is, do you remember that I seated the SSD card in the wrong M2 slot? Well, that could easily have been avoided if I had known to remove the heatsink and pop it inside there. So it's these little bits of research that would have made the biggest difference to me, right? And the third lesson is check the compatibility of the case with your motherboard. Make sure you check that. What I have, do you remember when I was building it and there was one cable that I couldn't figure out and I kind of gave up on it, right? Well, I figured it out now. That cable is to power the USB-C port that's on the top of the case, right? Now, my motherboard doesn't have any slot to plug that in. So what am I left with? A dead USB-C port at the top. Now, is that a disaster? Not really, but a little bit inconvenient. The reason is, as I showed you, all of the cables, they plug into underneath the case. So if you need quick access to a USB-C port, the idea is that you can do that right on the top of the case. At the moment, I don't have that luxury there. So it's not a deal breaker, but it's not the most convenient. If I had known this in advance, would I have purchased a different case? Maybe not, but at least I would have been ready for that. I wouldn't have been trying to figure out where does this cable go and wasting all this time just trying to put this thing together when actually it's just not needed for my specific build. Final lesson that I'll share with you is once you install the operating system, make sure you install all of the drivers. When you go into your device manager, you'll see there are a bunch of things that has exclamation marks next to it. That's okay. If you try to install it directly from device manager, it will say it cannot find the drivers for the device, right? Perfectly normal. So what I had to do was go to the ASUS website and download the drivers manually and install them manually. The moment you do that, then your device manager, it gets happy again. The other thing, this is the last thing, I almost forgot this. The other thing is, I was going through blue screen death hell. It just kept crashing on me. And I was thinking, what's going on? So when I looked at the error message, it kept saying video scheduler error, right? So I'm like, okay, so that's got something to do with the GPU, or does it? Big shout out to Nick Jackson and Eric Veld. They helped me through very quick conversation troubleshoot this issue. Now, what the issue is if you're going to be building using an NZXT H1 case, and you have a motherboard which supports PCIe generation 4. What Nick told me is that the PCIe cable that comes in the H1 case is generation 3. And it's plugging into a motherboard which supports generation 4. So now you have different speeds. So that was what was causing the error. So the moment that I went into the BIOS of the motherboard and changed the operating speed from generation 4 to generation 3, everything was happy again. So that was another big lesson learned. But I'm gonna wrap this series up. If you've stayed with me all this time, you've done really well. Thank you so much for your support. It's definitely been an adventure, and I can't wait to do something similar again sometime. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, like this video if this is the type of thing that you want to see, and I will catch you on the next one. Boom!